Broadcasting from Hollywood, California, it's Rants, Hollywood Talk.
Omarosa finally gets to work for Trump. We examine Taylor Swift's image after Calvin and Kimye. Leslie Jones unjustly gets attacked on Twitter. Vicky versus Shannon boils over on OC Housewives. And J-Lo looks amazing at 47. Lots to rant about with Scott Moore right now. Let the ranting begin. I'm sitting across from another guest co-host on Rants Hollywood Talk, host and producer Scott Moore.
Hey guys, I'm so happy to be here. This is fun. I've been wanting to be on the show for quite a while, actually.
Oh, really? Well, Thank you. I'm glad. Well, Scott, I wanted to have you on. We know each other through AfterBuzz. Mm-hmm. And what was it, Celebrity Apprentice?
Yes.
Which seems like 8 years ago.
100 years ago. I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. You've been around AfterBuzz for almost as long as I have. We're like, I consider myself like an OG kind of.
Yes, I do too.
Bit.
Yep, exactly.
We've seen a lot of people come and go.
We have.
Seen a lot of changes.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting experience. I like where it's at now. Sometimes I think back to the days when it was back at the house and things were a little bit smaller.
Yeah, it was a little bit more, I don't want to say intimate, but it was just a little more maybe laid back. Maybe that's the word I'm going for. Back in those days.
Yeah. We have a lot of AfterBuzzers on this show, and a lot of them are new, and they have no idea like what the backstory is and how it all began and everything. So it's nice to have an original on with us.
Yeah.
So there's lots to talk about.
Oh, yeah. There always is, isn't there?
Speaking of AfterBuzz and yourself, we're currently on a show. It could be kind of controversial to some people over at AfterBuzz.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're doing.
Well, Trump versus Hillary 16 is the new political podcast that we're doing over at AfterBuzz. And yes, it can be a little bit controversial. Just as we all know, politics really brings out the ugly in people on both sides. And this year in particular, because we've got, well, speaking of, The Apprentice, we've got Donald Trump. I mean, would you ever guessed in a billion years, one of his favorite words, did you ever see Donald Trump as the Republican nominee for president? I mean, come on.
No,
just going back to when we were covering their ice cream thing, and we were trying all their ice creams. You remember that?
Yes.
And watching that show and just thinking, never in a gazillion years would I ever picture that man was going to be running for president for a major party so soon after that. It's crazy.
It's outrageous.
I don't think you could have written that here in Hollywood and written a movie script and made that, and people would have thought, wow, that's such fiction.
Yeah, no one would fall for that. It sounds like a bad TV movie.
It really,
and for
really does.
many people, it sounds like a bad nightmare.
Yeah, and for many people, it really is a nightmare. So it is a little bit controversial, especially because right now we covered the GOP convention last week, and we were all Democratic or at least progressive leaning on the panel, so there wasn't as much balance on getting those Trump or Republican supporters.
Well, it's hard in LA.
It's very hard.
I really don't know anyone that's stomping for him. I really don't. When I talk to people back home, it's quite the opposite.
Right.
No one knows anyone that's stomping for her.
Right, and same thing. I'm from Florida, and so we always have a lot of conservative and Republican friends, and I don't know anyone either that's actually actively going for her. However, during the primaries, everyone's like, I'm not voting for Donald Trump, so I'll be curious to see what my Republican friends will do now, as they don't have another choice, really, except maybe Gary Johnson and, on the Libertarian side. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a little bit controversial, and it's fascinating because I've covered so many shows, like you were saying, for AfterBuzz, and right now I'm just finishing up Orange is the New Black as well. So, you get the fans that might say, oh, you forgot this part, or you forgot that part, or you guys did this, or that, you forgot to do that as they usually do. But now it's these people that are just writing these very nasty comments about how we're covering the politics of it. And
you'll never win. You'll never win.
No, you'll never win. And that's why I've tried to be and I've had, at least in this week, tried to be very looking at it from not a progressive viewpoint and just saying, okay, this is how the speeches seem to me. These are how the speakers were, and were they getting their message across well for the type of people they were trying to go after? I really was trying hard not to politicize it because I really wanted to give a non-biased support. But it's amazing how many comments. Compared to just doing the regular AfterBuzz shows, these people just go all out.
Omarosa finally got the job. She, after all these years, numerous attempts at trying to be the apprentice and then the celebrity apprentice, she's more than just the most hated woman on television.
Right. Well, it's a good fit between his unfavorables and hers. So, it's kind of a match made in heaven there.
Well, she's serving as the director of African American outreach, and
the girl's got a lot of work.
Yeah.
To outreach there.
2 swing states, Ohio and Pennsylvania.
And that's what I'm saying. Her work is really cut out for her, because have you seen some of those polls? Like in
zero.
Pennsylvania, 0%. But then again, I guess it looks like a success, because if she gets any kind of tick,
when you start from the ground,
when you start from 0%, you have nowhere to go but up. So that gives her something to have some positive numbers to look for. But still, it's a pretty sad place to be at. So she definitely has her work cut out for her.
I've always kind of got a kick out of her. Like I don't hate her.
No, I don't hate her either.
You know what I mean? Like I never had a huge problem with her, but I love it. She's always up his butt, and he loves it.
Of course he does.
The two of them love one another, so it's a perfect fit.
It's like I just said, match made in heaven between the two of them, because she loves to be far up his butt, and he loves that with anybody basically serving him. Yeah, so it's good.
I think the media wants everyone to think that a lot of these minority groups are not for him, but there's nothing that surprises me with him at this point. And I think he does have a good group of minorities behind him.
Yeah, I also think that he has a lot of, he's got the straight white, blue collar male vote that is really going to come out in force for him. And that is going to be a challenge, I think, especially some of these Rust Belt states like Pennsylvania and Ohio and maybe even Wisconsin and Michigan and those type of places that, there are a lot of people. I don't personally get voting for him because I don't find him as a person appealing, but I get the fact that some people are seeing these changes in these demographics, especially people at his age group, 60s and 70-year-olds that have seen change and feel like they're not getting their fair shot. So I get that those people feeling upset and feeling like they've never been able to recover and find a decent job and be able to leave their children something. So I get the anger and that out there. I just don't get how they feel that he is the person that's going to be able to fix that. But so I definitely think he definitely has a shot. I mean, like you said, there's nothing that surprises me with him anymore. Just the fact that he went from such a joke of a candidacy this time last year to actually clearing the field of such well-known GOP contenders. So there's definitely nothing that surprises me anymore. And I think we're just going to be up for a couple months of really down and dirty, because Hillary plays dirty too. So I think it's just going to be a very dirty next 4 months here.
Well, wake me up
3
when
months.
It's over.
Yeah, I mean 3 months.
Wake me up when it's over. I can't. I mean, I don't. By no means do I want to bury my head in the sand.
No,
but I can't handle it anymore.
I'm looking forward to November 9th.
It's making me too upset. I'm almost out of words.
I know. It's like I don't even know what to think anymore. So yeah.
Well, one thing different people have reached out to me about is Taylor Swift. Talk about a left turn. I have to, though.
Yeah.
No, really. So they want to know our thoughts and opinions on the rants about her image and what happened with this video that what Kim released on Snapchat and her and Calvin Harris and her image is tarnished for good. It all started way back when
2009, right? This was like years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't even gonna reach that far back. I was gonna reach back to when Taylor was when it was the whole situation with her and Calvin Harris. How he said he didn't foresee himself in the future working with her. She took offense to that. They said that was the beginning of the end for that relationship because she did work with him on that song. This is what you came for. Right. So blah, 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 blah. Then Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians, they had the episode air that talked about Taylor's reaction to Famous, that Kanye song. Did you see the video for that?
I've seen it, but yeah.
I looked at that video. I think it's horrendous.
Well, it is. I mean,
I think it's terrible.
It's ridiculous.
I think it's completely trashy. I don't see it as being art. And I am giving that video and Kanye a combined Sherry Shepherd Award.
Announcing the recipient for the Sherry Shepherd Award for Excellence in Ignorance.
That video and Kanye, ignorance doesn't begin to cover it for me. I thought it was awful. It was haunting, and it was lousy, and it wasn't art to me.
Well, it's just weird and creepy. But everything that Kanye kind of is involved with has that little, like, annoying, kind of creepy, gross side to it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan.
I don't find it to be art. I really don't. I mean, it's like he calls it art, so we're supposed to believe it's art.
Well, of course, because he's like he's the younger version of Trump right there.
Yeah,
He's like ego, all about him, and it's just
I can't.
I'm not a fan.
Right,
and I'm not a fan of this manufactured. What I call the manufactured drama that they always have to get themselves involved with just to keep themselves relevant in whatever way they possibly can. So him and Kim are again trying to do stuff to just rile people up, and it's manufactured and it's annoying.
So Kim had people that watch the show, follow her on Twitter.
Right.
Then she told everyone to go to her Snapchat. So then she's got her Twitter followers, her Snapchat followers, all in the same world, building the brand continuously.
Exactly.
And then she releases the video that by now we all know that Taylor said in the video that she's okay with that line. Now, they didn't really tell her the full line. They didn't say that he was going to call her a bitch. And then so she says that the video was... she said that she warned him that line could have a strong misogynistic message. And she labeled the video offensive and derogatory. Then the hashtag Kim Exposed Taylor Party. Everyone just is really looking for something to pin on this girl to make it look like she's not perfect.
Exactly.
They're trying to ruin the image.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this going to hurt her or not?
I mean, I don't think so in the long run, because I tend to think, too, a little bit of controversies always can be a good thing in a way if it's handled in the right way, and I think also people love to give people second chances, and it's just a thing. So I think it's going to blow over, and I think, like I said, it's just manufactured drama to just keep things relevant.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything long-lasting, and it's nothing that's that major.
No.
Like anything else the Kardashians are involved with, it's always superficial and at the surface. So, I mean, everything that they do, just at the surface. Now, granted, I will give them credit because they have worked that, and they have worked their brand so well.
Yeah.
The famous for being famous type thing, and Kim has that app, the Kim Hollywood thing, whatever. I mean, like, so she does know how to get stuff out there, and I will definitely give her credit with that. But it's nothing that's going to affect Taylor in the long run at all.
I think the controversy was over before it even began, as it happened. I mean, it's all right. So the video's out there.
Right.
Taylor's not going to go crazy and go on a media tour and post a video of her crying over this video release.
No.
So it's done. She's not going to put any energy behind it.
No.
Neither should we.
No, but it gives that's what I feel too. But it gives her at least a little controversy, a little bit of edge in a sense, in a way, and keeps her out there. And then it just blows over, and then people are like, whatever. Yeah. Just like anything else.
There's been a lot of
short-term
articles.
attention spans now.
A lot of people have been talking about this, obviously, and there's been a lot of articles, Vox, a lot of these platforms have posted different things, just kind of looking at Taylor for who she is, where she is in her career, and where she's going, and they're examining this really closely. And some people say that it seems like that her cold image could attribute to her being such a popular pop star, and that could really help her. And they don't look at it as a complete negative.
No.
So if anything, it makes her more three-dimensional.
Right.
I don't really see the big deal.
I don't either. Again, I think it's overblown and manufactured. But I do. There is. There are two sides to that celebrity thing. It's sort of having that aloofness, kind of out of, arm's reach, that kind of keeps people sort of like, ooh, really interesting because they don't quite know them, a little bit mysterious maybe because they're distant. And then there's the other side of like, is there too much interaction now with like Twitter and fan interactions and fans wanting to feel like they can talk to you at any time, 24 hours a day, and they want to feel like you can connect with them. So there's a little bit of two sides to celebrity now.
Yeah.
And I feel like she actually does a pretty good job of kind of walking both those lines of sort of being a little distant but also being very interactive with her fans.
Right.
But it's nothing.
Yes. Well, let's move on to some other social media trouble. And let's talk about Leslie Jones, Ghostbusters SNL.
Yes.
And I said this on this podcast, the previous episode. I said, well, I really didn't get behind her on SNL. I didn't really enjoy her on SNL.
I didn't either. And this is the sad thing too, is
but that's not a hard thing though, because SNL is not wonderful.
No, SNL is not wonderful, and I've talked about this for years. They need to kind of just blow it up and start from scratch because it's sort of a tired formula at this point. And I felt bad for her too because she was kind of thrust as like the token black woman because of their own casting issues, and she was thrown in the middle of the season as a writer. And a lot of the actors do come from the writer room there, but I still felt like, oh, this is. And it was awkward with her when she first joined, but I have learned to love her. I do love her talent. I finally saw Ghostbusters yesterday. I've been wanting to see it for a while, but with my crazy schedule, I haven't gotten a chance to. But I had read about the controversy, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's sort of with the Trump-Hillary thing. It's like people can be anonymous behind the keyboard, and they can write horrible, hateful, terrible things to people that they would never say to someone's face. But because they have that anonymity, it's so much easier to write these horrible things, and and people do that for the attention because they're sitting in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night, and they can say horrible things, and it was terrible the things that they were saying to her.
I looked at some of the tweets; they were all very racist and
awful.
Horrible,
I mean, just
like,
awful,
the worst things you could say.
Awful things.
And you've got one man who's encouraging his followers. He had over 300,000 followers. No longer there. And they all joined in on the hate and retweeting and all that. So I mean, it's just a disgusting thing. There's really no excuse for any of it. I don't know who are these people. Like, are these people that we know, that we go out with, that we don't even know?
That's what I wonder about too, because I don't have any friends that I feel like would ever say something like that. I don't get it. I don't get who these people are either. And this is just the bigger problem that we have with society right now in general. And it's like, where's all this hate and I think part of it really is, and some people have said it to me, is social media, because now it gives people an outlet that you did not used to have, even 10 years ago, to be able to say whatever you want and have people with it does, and then you get these like-minded people that can all say what they want behind the safety and anonymity of a keyboard, away from saying it to someone's face. But it was awful. But on the flip side, it's been great to see all the support that she's been getting as well from everybody, and the fact that this has been brought out. And it's been put out to society. I mean, it's been in the LA Times. I mean, it's been everywhere, to where different segments of society that may not be on Twitter would also be able to read about this and see and learn about it and know that this is not it's not acceptable. But I love the movie. Have you gotten a chance to see it yet?
I haven't seen it yet.
It was funny. No, the funny thing was that I started watching it and I started thinking, going again back to Donald Trump. I was like, oh man, this is going to be the way America is if we elect Donald Trump. We're gonna, all the ghosts are going to come out from the woodwork, and they're going to be all these malevolent beings like trying to take over America. It was pretty crazy. The only thing that I will say, without really giving anything away, is yes, her character was a play on Ernie Hudson from the original Ghostbusters. But because this was all, really strong comedic female leads, I would have liked to have seen her character also been an engineer or something like that, because I felt bad that the three other, the Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig's character and Kate McKinnon, they were all either scientists or whatever else, and her character was an MTA employee, which is like going with the original with Ernie Hudson. But I would have liked to have seen her be like maybe an MTA employee that was an engineer. Like, let's have four educated, smart women. Not saying she's not, but I would have liked to have, that was my only thing that I was like, I really would have liked her to have that too, because I think but I thought it was really fun. I think you'll enjoy it too. As a fan of the original Ghostbusters, it was fun to see this remake. I laughed a lot and really, really enjoyed it. And I'm really sad that she's had to endure the type of hatred she has on Twitter, which now you can understand why people don't want to be on Twitter.
Right.
Like why celebrities don't, because they don't want to see these type of horrible things.
For me, it all comes down to people not having enough to do. People don't go out and look for work like they should, or they settle for things. So they have a lot of time to sit around and do absolutely nothing. That's why I can't relate to any of this. Because what's the different thing here? What's the difference between me and those people? Because I have opinions too.
Of course.
But I don't go around calling people names either. I'll make fun of the women on The View, but I'm not going to call them their name.
Of course.
I mean, The View, they're asking for it. But,
right. No, making fun of people in a fun, lighthearted way is very different than calling people horrible, terrible, racist things. There's a very big difference between that.
I mean, I don't have the time for any of that. For any of that trolling or any of that. So that's the thing. People have too much time on their hands, and that's the basis of so many problems.
Too much time on their hands.
They fester, they make plans, they go after people, they get very angry, they find like-minded people. Go out and do stuff. Back in the day when people had to put food on their table and make money, serious money, they didn't have time to tweet late at night about a successful movie actress and how she looks.
Exactly. And they also had to work with people and get along with different types of people they may not have been used to. And now it's like you can just listen and follow people that agree with you because you have all these niche little audiences and you never have to have any disagreements with anybody because you can just find someone that's going to agree with you all the time.
All the time.
And that makes it a big problem because nobody can now know how to work with other types of people or know how to compromise anymore because that's not the way we've come to now in society. Yeah. In entertainment or just in general everyday stuff. If you don't like something, you just don't do it then.
Yep.
You stay with like-minded people, so...
I did like seeing Leslie on the different talk shows. She was such a fan of a lot of them and just so happy to be a guest. Yeah. And she had such a great energy about her. I saw her on Wendy. I saw her all of them.
Oh, yeah. She's great. I love all four of those women. Funny story, which maybe we'll get to later, about how I met Kate McKinnon and brought her in, but maybe we'll follow up with that later.
Yeah,
That'll be a nice little tease.
Okay, let's do that. Coming up, Scott's story with Kate McKinnon coming up on Rants. Let's talk about the Real Housewives of Orange County.
Oh, yeah.
And another few. This one a little less intense.
Yeah.
But, let me just fill everyone in real quick. That Shannon of OC had made comments about Vicky's daughter Brianna coming back to Orange County, questioned if there were strings attached, perhaps an ultimatum, because Vicky did purchase a home for her daughter.
Right.
And now, of course, Vicky and Shannon have not spoken up until this point for a long time, especially like when they were recording, they have not spoken on air, when this line was put out there. And so Vicky wrote on her Bravo blog, she said, "Wow, I'm in shock watching tonight's episode on how Shannon weighs in on my daughter moving back to Orange County. She hadn't spoken to me in many months when this aired, so how dare her comment anything about Brianna and Ryan's decision to move back to CA? What does she know? Nothing. What is she talking about strings attached?" Shannon, at the end of the day, is paid to have an opinion. She was asked a question, I'm sure. Right. And that was perhaps her POV. She's not a fan of Vicky, so she's going to say whatever she wants. This is Housewives 101.
Exactly. Yeah, no surprise there. And the funny thing is, I've watched the show since the very, very, very beginning in 2006. It was one of those things I came across that I had a hangover. Or showing it on Bravo, it's like perfect kind of like TV to watch, and then I got hooked, and I've watched it since the very beginning, pretty much. And so obviously Vicky's been on since the very beginning, talking about OG. But I get Shannon's point of view. It was not a good look, Vicky, with Brooks and that whole stuff that happened last season with the cancer scare and fakery and all that. I mean, it was not a good look for her. So of course, it's like anything else. She's not going to come across well if people feel like she hasn't been honest with them. And as Shannon had said, I think it would go a long way if Vicky really just came clean and said, yes, maybe I knew more than I let on, but I was so
That's
far
all
deep.
She has to do.
I was so deep into it at that point, and I was trying to support my man, whatever it is. But people will be able to understand a little bit more, and the ladies would be able to forgive her if she could really come clean and really just try to move past that instead of trying to deny it. And because obviously you have to know more than you're letting on. There's no way that you have somebody has cancer that's your partner and you are not knowing as well. Yes, Vicky is very, in my opinion, absent a lot of times with family stuff because she's such a workaholic and will work all the time and will walk away from stuff and be like, here's your booklet, go to your doctor's appointment. So I can see her not being actively involved, but something like that you would know a lot more. And if this is something that you truly loved, when you want to be involved with the doctor's appointments and know exactly what's going on with your partner, you would want to know. Yeah. You're not going to just be like, okay, whatever, I'm going to take his word. I'm never going to any appointments. I'm never knowing what's going on. So yes, she definitely knew more than she was letting on, and that's part of Shannon's gripe. And that is that's her point of view. That's her opinion. She's paid for that, but that's how she feels. And I would feel that way too.
It's very simple for her to just put it out there and say, look, I was completely snowed by all of this. I honestly, if she was, or what she could say, look, here's what I was given. I was trying to defend this man.
Right.
This is
the man I was with at the time. I'm trying to protect him. Yes, I knew that he may not have been as sick as he let on, but I also was trying to protect him, and I got so far into it, and I effed up. I apologize. I want you all to be able to trust me again, and then move on, because people make mistakes all the time.
Yeah, we were, she can say, I would believe if she said, look, I was played to a degree. Right. Yes. But those words are just not happening.
No, and that's where she just keeps making it more difficult. Yeah. So Shannon's I totally understand where she's coming from. I would feel the same way if I felt like my friend was doing that to me. That doesn't feel, you're not feeling the trust. And you're thinking, what else are they now keeping from me? Right. And yes, I would agree with Shannon too. Knowing her, because she's very domineering, Vicky, and very controlling, that she is buying her daughter and her daughter's family a house. I would think strings may be attached, because that's not a cheap thing. It's not just a little. It's not just a little tiny thing. I mean, obviously she bought her a car last season as well. So it definitely comes with feeling like she wants to have, at the very least, her attention, her love. She's making them move back, even though Brianna's husband's not ready to move back yet, because he's still deployed there with the government keeping him there in Oklahoma for a while. So it's sort of like, why did she have to move back? Because that splits her family up. So yeah. Definitely. Vicky definitely has a very big influence, domineering.
Of course.
And, yeah, for sure. So there are strings attached, in my opinion, too.
Now, as someone who's watched the show from the beginning, what is your view on Vicky's overall evolution over the seasons and the changes in her life? How do you view her? Because, I feel like by this point you've seen all sides of her, like many of us, Yeah. What do you think of her today and how far she's come?
Well, the funny thing is, I don't feel like she has come that far.
Really?
In the sense that
I believe you.
She is still in that base moment, like where she still feels like she needs to have a man. She hasn't been able to be fully independent, and I get it. She lives in this huge, 5,000 square foot house. I would be like that if I was working all the time and coming home to an empty house of that size. I would feel the same way. But it always feels like she hasn't been able to learn how to be single. She hasn't been able to learn how to be comfortable with herself. These are still things that I
completely agree.
Feel like she's still working through after all these seasons. Yes, we've seen her evolve, and that we knew that relationship with Don was doomed from the beginning. It was just they didn't have a healthy marriage. But she still goes back and forth with the same issues that she has with Tamara, with with all the other housewives that she's had from the beginning. So she's evolved to a point. But considering how long this has been, 9, 10, 11, I don't even know how many seasons. 11 seasons now. I'm thinking 10 years. And she's still in a lot of ways in the same place. She definitely has a lot more growing to do, in my opinion. But I do love her.
Yeah, I agree. I don't hate her.
No, there's definitely a lovable side about her. And I think even through all of her faults, she can be a positive role model in the sense that, she's a powerful woman. She started her own business. She's turned it into a success. There's a lot of positive things about her. Of course, there's a lot of negative, but for women to look at and be like, that could be a positive role model. But I wish that she wouldn't be so dependent on relationships.
I was just going to say that. That's Achilles' heel is her dependency on other people in her life.
Right.
People that need
her kids, her having to have a relationship, having to, moving in. Obviously, Brooks was never good for her either. He was gross and creepy and nasty. Never moved in. And the fact that she's, and that's a part of the problem too, is that it's sort of a role reversal, because then she has these men that come in that kind of live off of her, which again is sort of different from what we're used to of seeing the wealthy man taking in the women and everything. Like, she's taking care of these men, so it's kind of a role reversal in a way, but it's also kind of sad because she's being taken advantage of, I think, in my opinion.
Right.
So hopefully I'd like to see her evolve to be more comfortable with herself, more confident, okay with being single, not feeling dependent on her kids, and being able to own up to things that she's done and take responsibility for it. So,
well, let's turn our attention and wish a happy birthday to Jennifer Lopez, who's turning 47 years old.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez, if you think back to all the things in her career that are iconic, she's had a very good stretch of her career.
Absolutely.
And she looks ageless.
No, she looks incredible. I wish I could look like that. I hope to look like that at 47. She looks amazing. Like you said, she's been through a lot. I had a friend that used to dance with her years ago and said she's a lot of fun, because I remember it was before the whole American Idol thing, and they're always like, oh, she's gonna be horrible and mean and distant and everything. I'm like, no, not from what I've heard from people, is that she's really sweet and nice and pretty genuine. Yes, she has that diva reputation, but I think a lot of people
so quick to paint her with that diva.
I think people, and I think to a certain degree, some people can be that way, especially if they're stressed and tired and they're running around and you have a crazy schedule and a crazy life, that sometimes that reputation happens one time and it just sticks with you.
Yeah, I mean, I worked on a show with her, and she definitely had her entourage.
Of course.
But there wasn't any yelling or any major demands. She had a regular dressing room, like with they come in the trailer dressing rooms.
Yeah.
Like anything else, there wasn't anything that over the top. Nothing.
Yeah, she was the one that just had the white M&Ms and all this crazy stuff in her rider. No, I always heard she was very sweet, and like I always say is, are they the type of people that go out and hang out with their dancers afterwards? Are they too kind of good for that? And she always would kind of hang out after and go hang out and party a little bit with the dancers. And I always feel like that's nice and camaraderie. It's sort of like when you're working somewhere and you're with the boss, and like, is the boss going to come out with you guys for maybe drinks after work one night after a long week on a Friday night? And if you see that interaction, it's kind of nice because you feel like you can have that camaraderie. But if the boss never goes and does anything, or never goes out to lunches with the team, or never goes out for drinks, and you start to feel like there is a distance, and it's like, oh, I'm better than you. And so when I see artists that are able to go out and be with their dancers and hang out and everything, that to me speaks a lot about them. And she always did that. And yeah, I think that diva rap was a little unfair, and we always saw how great she was in American Idol to the town on there, and it was nice. It was great.
Mm-hmm. She's got that iconic Versace dress image from the Grammys.
Of course.
And the iconic butt.
Of course. And she's got a gorgeous figure and a gorgeous body. But the thing that's great about her is she has both that glamour side, but then she has that like everyday woman side.
Yes.
And she has that background of the everyday woman, and I think that that's great to have. You know, kind of have both sides. So she really plays that really well. And she looks amazing for 47. So I hope she has fun and hangs out with her younger men. And that's
good for her. Good for her.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
I'm all about it. 110%.
You're listening to Grant's Rants. Please rate, subscribe, and share on iTunes and social media. Spread the word. There are a lot more rants to come. Follow us on Twitter at Grants__rants. And now for the one-on-one.
And we're talking with producer and host Scott Moore.
Yay. Yeah, we're having a good time here.
Yes, it's a little hot here. We're at a very hot spell, we could say, in LA.
Yeah, I guess everywhere in the country right now. I mean, I guess we shouldn't be too surprised. It's summer.
Right.
But it's been incredibly hot, and
there's wildfires all around us.
It was like the apocalypse yesterday with all the crazy smoke. There's this huge, like 22,000 acre fire out here just north of LA. Yeah. And the winds made it look. I had ash all over my car.
Yup. There was a fire right outside of NBC this last week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
on the way home.
Brush fire. I actually just passed it to go to the doctor, and I'm like, wait.
The whole mountain is like bald now. Yeah. It was weird because I take that way home all the time, and then I see all these men all over the mountain, like ants, all over the mountain, extinguishing it themselves. The water dropping. It's very dramatic. I mean, coming from Rhode Island, we don't have anything.
That's what I was going to say. That's you. I come from Florida, and right now it's our rainy season, and so maybe hot in other places of the country, but at least they get rain. Out here, we don't get rain anymore, and that's why we're having all these horrible fires. So I'm really hoping that somehow we get some rain in a couple months and it cools off. I'm already looking forward to that.
I am too. It makes things a little bit more challenging when you're sweating.
Yeah, I hate sweating.
So let's talk a little bit about you and what you're doing out here. You mentioned from Florida. Now you're working on a couple different projects.
Yeah, it's been
producing.
It's kind of been a crazy ride. I came out here from Florida about 10 and a half years ago, and it was one of those things where I wasn't able to get the work, because I came from Central Florida in Orlando, and at the time there was a lot of stuff going on at NBC and Disney. I would work on the Christmas Parade that aired every year on ABC with Regis and Kelly back in those days. Mm-hmm. And so there was steady work and there was commercial work, and I dabbled a little bit in acting. So there's enough to keep me afloat, and I would do odd jobs and stuff. But by the time we got to 2005, it really started drying up. Nickelodeon had basically left its presence in Orlando, and a lot of work at that time had gone up to North Carolina. And I'd spent some time in New York, and it was too cold for me for a Florida boy. So after one winter, I was like, I'm done with that, although I love New York. And I also felt like you either can live there really, really, really dirt poor, or at this point in my life, I'd have to be super rich to be able to go live to New York, because I do love the energy and everything about it. And North Carolina just felt too small town to me too, and I felt like it was going to be the same kind of thing. Like I might be able to work on some movies, but it would be really hard to get consistent work. Yeah. So after the Christmas Parade in 2005, I was like, I hightailed it out of here in January. I was like, I'm starting a new year, got into some freelance work, lucked out. And then just only a couple months after that, a friend of a friend basically introduced me to my boss at the time at G4, which was a video game-centric network, which no longer exists. But at the time, it seemed very exciting because it was a full-time gig. It was an assistant position, but it had benefits, and it was with Comcast, and it was just kind of a cool, even though it was corporate-y, it was sort of this cool underground nerd culture. Yeah. And I thought, yes, this is perfect, and I dived right in, and I ended up working there for almost 7 years. So that's what really kind of got me into the world out here in Los Angeles. I was able to work consistently for so long, make wonderful friends, We got to travel all over the world because, G4 is very big on the Japanese culture, so I went over there a few times.
That's awesome.
We covered Comic-Con, which has been happening right now in San Diego. We covered that for 7 years in a row. I went down there. We covered the E3 video game convention. And it was just a fun group. Even though I wasn't like a hardcore video gamer, my thing growing up was really the old school arcade machines, and I actually have one now, which was a big 30th birthday present more than a couple years ago now. But at the time, it was a big deal. So I love the old school Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, and those are the type of video games. And I really nerd out to like Civilization and Sim City. So I'm not playing. I'm not like a first-person shooter game, and I'm not really a hardcore gamer. So it was an odd fit. But I started progressing, and I ended up working with talent at G4. And so for about 4 or 5 years, I ended up being a talent exec for the network. And that was so much fun, which kind of brings me back to the Kate McKinnon story. So our last year that we were there, we were sort of trying to expand. Again, sort of the writing was on the wall that it looked like, we were, Comcast had bought out NBC, and we kind of fell under the NBC umbrella. So for the last 2 years, it was a lot of fun working there because NBC is a great company, and they had so many great cable networks and channels. So we were trying to expand sort of our demo because it was very specific young male demo, and we wanted to kind of get a little bit different group, maybe a little bit older male, a little bit higher income, whatever the case was that they wanted.
Right.
So we started looking more for some comedic people, maybe that weren't so hardcore gamers like the rest of our hosts, but might have a comedy background. So we started going out to all these different showcases, which made my job a lot of fun because I was basically going out at night and seeing comedy shows and buying a couple drinks and running it all off. So those were the days. And we went to a diversity showcase one day, and Kate was there, and me and my colleagues were like, we really need to bring her in. Like, she just has really cool energy. We really liked her. Showed up to our casting interview, and in typical Kate McKinnon style, she like stretched out. We had the proverbial casting couch, right? So we had the settee, and we had our chairs, and she stretched out and that kind of made cat noises and kind of like just sat really odd. And just went on these whole diatribes and these whole weird tangents that really had nothing to do with what we were talking about. And I was like, God, I love her.
I love people like that.
I do too.
Like anyone that can maintain their sense of self and live to the beat of their own drum.
Exactly.
I love that.
And so we loved her, but then I thought, oh my God, but almost it would be too hard to rein her in because even though we're looking for comedic people, we're still looking for hosts, and it's live. Obviously, now she moved to SNL and she gets it, but I was like thinking, I don't know if she quite fits in. And I remember when she had walked out the day, I thought, she'd be really great on something like SNL, something where she could have all these characters, but she could still, and be outlandish and be herself. And sure enough, it was, I want to say, only about a month or two later, because we brought her in like January, February, that she came in like mid-season of that year, probably in 2012, I would say. She came into SNL like at the end of their mid-season there, and then became a regular the following season. And I was like, so that was kind of cool that I had called it early and thought she's not right for us, but she'd be great on our fellow NBC counterpart there, SNL.
Yeah.
And there she was, and I think she's such a great addition to SNL. I really, really do, and she's so talented.
Well, she's running the show there now. I mean, she's like seems to be like their number one. Really.
She really, really is, and I'm so happy for her, and it's really great to see that. And I always remember having that casting session with her way back when she was just kind of starting out, and she was here in Los Angeles and made the big move to New York. So it's great to see where she's gone since then in the past couple of years. So that's where I was, and then of course
things change.
Yes, they do in this business,
especially in cable.
Yes,
and anything unscripted.
Yes,
it's a very fluid business, to say the least. Mm-hmm. So like here you are going to these comedy clubs. I'm sure
having a great time. I was casting different hosts every week. We were kind of doing the Regis thing, when Regis left, and it was like every week we were bringing a new guy host to fill in for one of our hosts, Kevin Pereira, who had left at the time. So we were rotating new hosts every week. So it was really fun. So I was kind of busy. I was like, let's see what host can I get in for the next week. So fun, and we kind of tested them all and bring them in. So it was really fun. And of course, later on in the fall of that year, just before the election of that year, I can't believe it's been 4 years already, they basically said, sorry, G4 is going away. Thanks, guys, for everything. You're out the door. So yes, we were laid off, although they were very, very kind to us. So I always say that, and I think it was great. Comcast and NBC gave us a really great 2-month notice, a nice severance package. So it kind of felt good at that point because I'd been there for almost 7 years, and a lot of my team, a lot of the group that I'd grown to love, we were all leaving together. So it was sort of like graduating. So it was very nice to just get a clean break.
You really weren't leaving anyone behind.
No, because sometimes it's sort of that FOMO, it's like I don't want to miss out on leaving for something else and thinking, oh my God, I miss everybody. Because my colleague, who was technically, my boss, she was kind of a half step above me, has become like an older sister to me. We're still really super close friends, and I would have really missed not being with her if she was still working there. So we all left together. And, then I went back in the freelance world. And let me tell you, it's hard to go back to freelance when you've been somewhere for 7 years because your whole contacts and connections have changed in that time period. And like all the cells of your body change at that point. So do all your contacts. So, 7 years is it's almost like you're rotating through. So it was a struggle getting back into freelance in this business.
And, you go from working for a $1 billion company to smaller companies that don't have the money. They don't have the money to pay you.
No, they don't have the money to pay you the same. You don't have the benefits. I mean, I got spoiled because I had insurance, I had a 401k, I had Comcast stock, and then you're kind of going out on your own and
I can relate to you. I was there.
Getting paid less, struggling, maybe working a job that lasts only 3 or 4 weeks because then you're wondering when's the next job going to come in because now I've got to pay the bills. It was very, very, very scary. And 2013 in particular was very scary. I was able to rebound in 14 and then very fortunately just getting back into the business again. Producing and production managing, and the other great thing was I've worked on a lot of shows that have traveled extensively. So all of 2015 I was in South Carolina for a show, which was a lot of fun, and then I ended up working for companies that have clients. So I ended up becoming a production manager for cruise ship companies that were basically doing content, and that's sort of the big new thing now. It's like big companies that now want to, instead of doing like the Disney Christmas Parade, for instance, 10 years ago, which is just a blatant infomercial, now you have a lot more sophisticated that are basically still commercials because they're plugging the cruise ship industry or whatever the company is, but it's a lot more subtle. Now you're watching content, you're watching original content. These companies are taking you out to all these different places where you can just happen to go if you're on a cruise ship to these ports of call. Yeah. So we had 2 really great shows last season, and I got to travel, which was amazing. I went to Puerto Rico, I went to Lisbon, Portugal, Paris, Italy, Argentina, Thailand. It was incredible, and now we're doing a very similar show with a different production company, I should say shows. So I've got 3 shows going out on the road right now, 22 episodes each. And I'm kind of production managing and producing. Producing back here, because they're all going to air in the fall, Saturday morning TV. One is going to be on NBC, one's going to be on ABC, and one's going to be on the CW. And again, very much promoting the travel and tourism.
Let me tell you, an order like that is rare these days.
It's very rare, and think of them all concurrent at once. That's 66 episodes. But again, like you were saying, the problem is the reason why they're kind of greenlit. Not much of a budget. The budgets are cut. So I'm essentially doing the job of what maybe 3.5 people should be doing if we were
an international production.
Right. You should have someone on the road in each location, someone like me, and then you should have me plus someone maybe slightly above that's handling the finances. So now I'm doing all of that. Yeah. So I'm getting all the crazy calls at all hours. So yes, I went from struggling to find a gig to now being so crazy busy I don't know what to do with myself.
That's the business.
It's like and that's the crazy thing about this business. Like I'll be working like insane hours the rest of this year, and the good thing is it goes all the way through till the holidays. But then in January, I could be looking for a job again and be watching bad Facts of Life reruns. I love Facts of Life, but I'm saying it bad in the sense it's 2 o'clock on a Monday and I'm sitting around on my couch because I'm not working.
Yeah.
So it's a great gig. Right now, I have 1 show's in the Virgin Islands. Right now, one's in Alaska, and the other one's on a cruise ship from Italy to Greece. So it's pretty crazy. They're just all over the place.
What are some productions you've worked on in the past? What are some things we might know?
Well, I don't know if anyone would have heard of some of them besides I did a couple shows. One was Newlyweds, which was on Bravo. Okay. And I did Newlyweds. And so I was sort of in the marriage game for a while because I did Newlyweds, and I switched over to another show on FYI Network called Arranged. And I worked on that. And then I just sort of wanted to get out of that business. I did it because I was tired of like the marriage and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So then I did a show called Art Breakers, which was really great. It aired on Ovation Network. It was only a 4-episode run. They still claim they're going to do a second season, but it was really fun because it was a reality show, but it also focused on the art world. And it was something that I wasn't as familiar with, but I thought was really brilliant. So you kind of learn a lot. Really great two women that are art brokers. So it kind of took the art world on its head and learning about the culture of art and the wealthy people that buy art. We went to Vegas and we were dealing with the guy that ended up building all of the Cosmopolitan Casino, very, very, very wealthy, and wanted to buy like crazy $1 million art pieces. And so, you know, it was fun to work on a show like that was very different from all the drama-filled reality
shows. I like
shows.
the stuff on Ovation.
Yeah.
They do a good job.
They do a very good job.
It's unscripted, but you can get something out of it.
You get something out of it,
You're
yes.
not going to be seeing a fight go down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There was no drama with it. You could learn something from it, and it was very different, but it was a very short run. It was 4 episodes, and then I went from there to do these travel shows, which also are great because there's no drama with them either, and you are learning stuff, and you're traveling internationally, so you're really getting a lot out of it. So it's been nice to kind of shift out of because the marriage shows were all about the drama and the conflict and all that stuff, and so it was nice to get away from it.
I want to know from your perspective, would you recommend someone coming out of school or moving out here with a little bit of experience under their belt going into the production side right now, or would you say go more towards a desk job?
I would say still go for the production job, and in case in point, I ended up hiring an office PA who literally just came out from Philadelphia. I mean, he's a couple years out of college now, so he's probably, I want to say probably 27, 28. But he basically packed his bags and came out to LA after working for a few years. And I think if you have the drive and you're willing to start as a PA and really just prove your worth, the good thing about working on the production side is that you can move up a lot faster than you can on a desk job. And that was the thing that I kind of felt like I missed out on because I was at G4 for so long. I barely moved up, and it's very incremental. Whereas if you work in freelance, you start knowing people, you have a connection to people, and you can start moving to job to job to job, and you can quickly move up and gain more responsibility and really get yourself out there. So I still think even though budgets are a lot tighter and people aren't willing to give out the money anymore, there's so many shows out there now. There's still so many non-scripted things out there that I think it's definitely worth doing. Now, if you'd rather have, if you're able to withstand the, like I was just saying, the crazy work to the not working for a while and having to find your next gig and you don't know how long that's going to be, if you're able to tolerate that kind of risk and you're able to handle that, I would say go for it. If you really feel that right now that's not something you want and you want to have the steady 9 to 5-ish and have the security of the desk job, then go for that. But it really depends on the type of risk that you're willing to take. But the plus side is that you can move up really fast going the freelance, non-scripted production route. But there are also crazy hours. There's also the crazy personalities.
Yeah.
You know, there's also the working over the weekend. There's a lot of stuff that comes with it too. So it's really just having to evaluate that risk. But I would definitely recommend it. I think, you know, if you can do it, you should.
Yeah.
You can really move up quicker.
Now, on the other side of your life, you work in hosting.
Yes.
I know you've done some commercials.
Yes.
So how do you balance that, and what are you working on?
I don't even know how I do it anymore, to be honest. It was funny. I was telling this to a friend the other day, and she's like, how do you manage your schedule? Because the job alone is incredibly stressful right now with 3 traveling shows, and it's all hours, and you're, like you said, you're dealing with people of all different backgrounds, and some people are in Europe, so I'm having to be up late to answer their calls. Some people are in other places, and there's always urgent things going on.
Yeah.
And when you're working like 7 days a week, essentially, it can be very stressful. But especially the past couple weeks, I've been doing podcasts for Orange is the New Black and AfterBuzz. Now, right now with the conventions, and like this week, I've got a podcast every single night. And then I still go out and try to audition when I can too. It is crazy, but I still try to balance it out a little bit and, you know, have at least one day, like I took yesterday. For instance, I took a Saturday and just took Saturday off, and I was like, I'm going to sleep in. I'm going to go maybe, you know, see a movie. I'm going to be low key. So I think it's very important to have that balance, even if it's just one day or a half a day, whatever you can take for yourself. You have to have that balance, because otherwise you will get burnt out.
Right.
And you really do have to take care of yourself. Yeah. So that's how I do it. I take at least one day off, and next week I'm going to do the same when I'm getting a massage. So, you know, you just find ways to balance it, even if it's just for a couple hours, something where you can just tune out. And I think what's important that people have a hard time doing now is like just stepping away from the phone, stepping away from the emails.
It's very hard for me to do.
It's very hard, and I still have to learn from it, but I've realized I don't need to respond right away.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll read an email, but I won't respond until later. And I think you really have to find the balance, because this business is very, very tough, and you have to kind of set those boundaries a little bit early.
See, I'm very militant with myself and my time, and I feel as though if I don't have anyone to do anything with, I should use that time really wisely, and I should be dropping off dry cleaning, editing a video, making a phone call, getting the mail done, putting away clothes. Like, I should be doing so it's very hard for me to turn off and put on Netflix and watch like a rerun of The Office. Like that's very hard for me to do.
It's hard for me to do too, but you have to. Like I try to get everything done. Like, and I think I've learned this from production. It's like, what can I get done now so I don't have to do it tomorrow? Right. Even if I don't have to do it till tomorrow, if I can get it done now, it's better because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow if something's going to come up unexpectedly. So I get all that stuff done. Like I did it even on Friday night. I was exhausted after a long week, but I'm like, I'm going to the grocery store. I'm doing the laundry. I'm doing all my like chore stuff. And then I'm going to be able to be done, so that way at least I have Saturday where I'm not having to think about that kind of stuff and do whatever I can. So it is very important. I think you almost have to schedule that for someone like you that can't, has a hard time breaking down. You almost need to schedule time to say this is like downtime.
Block it out
and say this is downtime and I'm not going to be interrupted during this time. Even if it's just for an hour or 2 hours of just being able to sit back and watch something, distract yourself, or read some kind of book, something, whatever you can that you can just get away from, go to a movie, whatever the case may be. I think it's very important.
I was proud of myself yesterday because I looked at the CB2 magazine of all the furnishings and home decor, and I love looking at all that stuff, and I love design. So I was looking at that, and I kind of let my mind go into a creative space beyond the constant editing and note-taking and working and outlining and, checking the work phone and all that. So that was, I was very proud of myself.
No, and you should be. And you know what? It actually helps you to be more creative when you do that. Like, even when I'm crazy at work, I always step out and go to lunch. Even if I'm sitting by myself, I'd rather just get out of the office and not eat at my desk. I'd rather get out and walk. It's a great way of being able to help you creatively as well. And people always have to do that. So the people that sit at their desk all the time and eat lunch every day, no, take that time for yourself. You need that.
Yeah.
You're only going to be better and more creative if you can take some time away from everything, because you're just going to get burnt out. It doesn't do anyone any favors.
I've always insisted on taking time for lunch.
You have to.
And if anyone says anything about it, you can say, well, it's state law, so
state law. Bye. Exactly. But you need to. I mean, you will be more creative, and just like if you schedule yourself some downtime, you're able to be more creative too, and it'll be better for you and for everybody else to have that time.
Well, Scott, I can really relate to you. You live a full life, you work a lot, you enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
And somehow you keep it all together like me.
I know. I don't know.
But it all pays off. And you're happy for it. So.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I do recommend anyone that's joined it. It's a crazy business. It's like a drug, especially when you're working so hard and then you're not working. But there's nowhere else I'd rather be. Every time I even think about getting away from it, I never can. So I guess I'm stuck in it. I'm here to stay.
Yep. It's hard to step away
from. It is very hard.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming in and talking about all these topics and a little bit about yourself and everything you've got going on. Yeah. So where can we keep up with you, and how can we follow you and these Trump versus Hillary podcasts?
Yes, well, Trump versus Hillary is at Trump versus Hillary. That's Trump vs. Hillary 16 is the Twitter handle for that. I'm at sman80. I mean, my name, I can never get my name. So Twitter is at sman80. That's sman80. And you can also find me on Instagram at thescottmoore80, because, of course, again, I can't get my name. So so you kind of have to find me disjointed, but you can definitely find me there at those two places. And yes, we're going to be covering the Democratic Convention this week every night. I don't know how I'll be doing it, but I will be there, and we will be covering that just like we did last week.
I
for the
looked
GOP
at some
convention.
of it from last week. I looked when the girl from New York called in.
Yes.
That was an interesting episode. And it is balanced. So.
So we are going to have a full-time Trump supporter that will be joining our panel starting next week as well. He wasn't able to make it last week because of his schedule, which was too bad because that was their convention.
I know.
But at least we'll have someone that can maybe argue a little bit with us on the Democratic side, because we'll all be like, yes, this is so great.
Yeah, I know. I'm Bernie. I'm Team Bernie myself.
I am too.
It's hard hard when you're that liberal to be open-minded to hearing other things, but you
have to. And yes, I'll be covering Orange is the New Black. We're almost through that season. I've only got 3 more episodes.
Good season.
No spoilers for me. I got 3 more episodes. I'll be watching them tonight.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. So so you can definitely find me on AfterBuzz a lot the next couple weeks.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much, Scott, for keeping up with us here at the Rants.
Thank you.
And make sure you check him out on social media. Just to give you all an update, the Grants Rants Hollywood live show going to BidChat is still not announced when we will be premiering that. According to BidChat, that show will be airing in the summer of 2016. So keep an eye closely on when that premiere date will happen, because it's coming up shortly. Thank you so much for coming in, Scott.
Oh, thank you.
This has been Grant's Rants. Follow us on Twitter at Grants__Rants. Cover art created by Howie Ronay. Voiceover by Sir Richard Wentworth. Original theme music composed by Alexander Arnson.